The stars have secrets just for you. In Western astrology, we explore 12 houses, each representing a different life aspect. Constellations like Aries and Leo, they shape your personality, you see, and planets, they're your cosmic influencers. Dive into the stars with me, Monica Gonzalez, at Between Dimensions, and let's unlock your destiny.
Hi, and welcome to Between Dimensions. I'm Monica Gonzalez, an astrologer and spiritual advisor. And today we're going to talk about the basics of Western astrology. I've done a few videos on astrology and realized I haven't really defined any of the astrological terms or given any context. So I thought, let's just start from the very beginning and learn about astrology in order to continue having very fruitful conversations. But before we get started, let's clear out the space. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, release any tension you might be holding onto, and let the sound waves do their magic. So I've been studying astrology for several years. I've always been interested in ancient civilizations and thought that I wanted to learn astrology for myself and have been fascinated by it. Astrology is the study of the movement of the celestial objects, so the stars and planets in our sky. And for a really long time, astrology was venerated. The scholars who learned astrology were put into very high and respectable positions. It's only more in modern technology that astrology is seen as a pseudoscience, but I still can't help but to wonder with so many people fascinated by the movements of our stars and planets and erecting these megalithic structures to note these celestial movements. There's got to be something to it, right? It can't just only be for entertainment purposes. I think there's so much more there. So I started studying it and then I decided I wanted to share it with you all and see if there's anyone else out there who's as interested in astrology as I am. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to just take off some of these planets so we can just take a quick look at the chart bare. And basically, this is a Western astrology chart. It can be seen as a natal chart, a transit chart, or a synastry chart. The difference between those three is a natal chart shows the positions of the celestial objects in the sky on the day and time of your birth. A transit chart compares the positions at the day of your birth, so your natal chart, with the positions of the celestial objects right now in the sky as those objects are transmitting over the sky. Or synastry. Synastry is taking the natal chart of two people and comparing them side by side and seeing where there are planets that either overlap or conjunct or are opposite to each other, and that can give you an idea of the compatibility between two people. So, to get started, let's just break down what this chart is telling us without any of the planets inside of it. There are two halves to a chart. You have your northern hemisphere, and now I know this is counterintuitive, it's at the bottom, but this is where you're going to learn more about yourself on the inside. And these movements, planetary movements, tend to impact more the individual. And then you have your southern hemisphere, which is at the top. And these transits are going to more impact the community or the global audience at large. You then have these lines that are intersecting. And the two lines that I really want to go over is this here on the left, and that's called the ascendant line. This line points to the constellation that is rising on the eastern horizon. So right now, you could see here we have the date and time of December 5th at 5:42 p.m. So right now we have the constellation Cancer rising, and that tells you that your ascendant is Cancer. Because it's December 5th, I know that the sun is in Sagittarius. So if you were born today or right now, your sun sign would be Sagittarius, but your ascending sign would be Cancer. And Cancer um, would be the sign that is shown to the world. It's how you're expressed outwardly versus your sun sign, which is more how you're expressed inwardly. It is the self. It's how you view yourself, and then your rising sign is how people view you. Down here is the IC sign in Virgo. We'll discuss that in a different video because this is going to be a long one and I don't want to bore you. Then you have your descendant line, and then you have your MC or midhaven line. This is the other one that's very important. It's usually an indicator of where you're going to see success, and it could be a good indication of your soul purpose. Then you want to look at the houses and understand your houses. So our houses start underneath the ascendant line with house 1, and it goes around this inner circle counterclockwise until house 12. And each house is like, I consider it like a different room in our house. And we'll just go through these as quickly as possible. Again, I don't want to make this video so long, but just give you guys a very basic understanding of your astrological chart. So each of these houses is like I said, a room in your house, and each room in your house has a different function. I equate the first house, which is the house of the self, as your master bathroom. It's the house where in private, like who you are, what you do, if you're singing in the shower, if you're doing your hair and makeup, if you're dancing, it's the house of self, and any planetary transits through this house will impact the house of self or the master bathroom. The second house is, I consider, the kitchen. It is the house of sustenance. So, not just food and water, but this is the house of finances because honestly, no one can live without money these days. So, or very few people. It'd be hard, let's be honest. It would be a little hard. So the second house is the house of finances or the kitchen. The third house is not a house in my mind. It is the house of communication. It is the house of how you get information, learning. So I consider it more like your cell phone. And you know what? We spend so much time on our cell phones, so like it might as well just be like another room in our house, right? It's like every room in the house. But the third house is the house of communication and the mind and learning. The fourth house is the overall house. It is the house of the home or family or roots. It's the relationship with our parents, our mother in particular. So if you want to understand what your home life is going to be like, you would look at the planetary transits here. The fifth house is either like a craft room or a child's playroom because the fifth house is the house of creativity. It's the house of romance, of love, but it's also um, the house of fertility because it's creation. So you could understand how your children are going to be if you look at the planetary transits in this house. The sixth house is your home gym. It's the very mundane, practical house. It's the house of routine and health and fitness. The seventh house is your master bedroom. It's the house of marriages and romantic partnerships, but it could also be business partnerships. I'm not saying that you want that in the bedroom. I'm just saying it's partnerships, very important partnerships in your life. And if the seventh house is the bedroom, then the eighth house is the bed, because this is the house of intimacy and of the hidden or occult. Anything that you do in the sheets will be found out in this house. The ninth house is the library, or if you don't have a library, your bookshelf, because this is the house of higher education, learning, travel, philosophy, mentors. So, whatever planetary transits happen in this house will give you an indicator to higher learning, education, and whether or not a mentor will be coming into your life. Again, that's dissected. The boundary between the ninth house and 10th house is the midhaven, which gives you a glimpse into your soul purpose or where you're going to find professional um, success. And for good reason, it is next to the 10th house of career or professional success. That is the office, it's your home office. Next to that is the 11th house. And that could be seen as your dining room or your living room because this is the house of friendship and community. So, wherever you host and have people over, it's your 11th house. It's going to give you information about your friendships and your role in community. And finally, your 12th house. Your 12th house is the house of the subconscious. So I look at it as like your basement or your attic. It's a space you don't visit very much. It's there, it's important, it's foundational, but you don't look at it very much. So it's the house of spirituality, it's the house of karma, it's the house of the subconscious. Okay, so now that we know a little bit about the houses, let's talk about the constellations or our zodiac. So this chart is broken up into 12 zodiac signs, each of which has, in Western astrology, has 30 degrees, as you can see here. And each of those degrees are broken out into 10-degree decans. That's for a whole nother video because that's more like astrology 201 or 202, not 101. So let's just quickly run through the zodiac signs. If the houses are rooms in your home, I think of the zodiac signs when I'm reading a chart as like the vibe of the room, like is your kitchen super modern, sleek, and finished, or is it more like a farmhouse, or does it have a more rustic, vintage quality to it? So the constellations give the vibe of the room. So, um, we have Cancer here. Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is all about emotion. And we're going to go through the planets also. I'm going to try to do the constellations super fast, but so that we could get to the planets and how they transit. But Cancer is ruled by the moon, making a Cancer someone who is very empathetic, very in touch with their emotions, but also could be a little sensitive and insecure. While we have Leo, on the other hand, who is ruled by the sun, and the sun is all about the self and the spotlight. So Leos tend to be very gregarious, charismatic, center of attention. However, they could also be overly dramatic and self-centered. Sitting right next to Leo, we have beautiful Virgos. Virgos are an earth sign. They are ruled by Mercury. They are very practical, analytical, but they're also super perfectionist. So if you know a Virgo, you'll know that they're very perfectionist, and because of this aspect of their personality, they'll also be super um, particular on how things are done, which could lead them to be a little overbearing and controlling. Then we have Libra. Libra is basically the Lady Liberty. Lady Liberty has the blindfold of justice on and carries the scales. So Libra is all about the scale. So it's all about balance and peace and harmony. They are ruled by Venus, and can be seen as very balanced, diplomatic, idealistic, and charming. But they can also be a little indecisive because, when you're weighing those things, it's a little hard sometimes to know, what's what. Next to Libra, we have Scorpio. And Scorpio is a very interesting sign, or at least I find them to be very interesting. They are seen as the sexy sign of the zodiac. They're very sensual, they're very sexy, they're ruled by Mars. So they can also be very aggressive and action-oriented. They'll be very energetic. But uh, their mysterious quality can lead them to be a bit secretive, obsessive, and jealous. Next to Scorpio, we have Sagittarius. As I mentioned, Sagittarius is um, they're philosophical, they're travelers, they're the sages of the zodiacs. Um, they because they are seen as higher thinkers and very wise people, they could be a little proud. They have a lot of pride in them, and since they're also travelers, they can also be seen as very restless. Next to Sagittarius, we have Capricorn. Capricorn are um, very practical and disciplined. They are ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is the planet of discipline. And they're going to be like the very organized, methodical individuals. Because they're so organized and methodical, though, they might come across as a little distant, a little aloof, not very warm or emotional. But that's just because they're extremely organized and they want to get things done. Next is Aquarius. And if you watched my Pluto entering Aquarius, you'll know that Aquarians are the sign of humanitarians. They're very independent, original, they're progressive. But on the other hand, since they're ruled by the planet Uranus, and Uranus is the planet of change, they can be rebellious or disobedient. So it's this fun mix of they're very humanitarian, but they could also be a little bit of a rebel. Pisces is the next sign, and they are ruled by Neptune. And Neptune is this kind of like out there, dreamy, intuitive planet that lends itself to the spirit and energy of Pisces, because Pisces is all about compassion, intuition, empathy, kindness, and artistic. Because they're like very spiritual, flowy people. And that gets juxtaposed with fiery Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars, and they are the sign of, again, being ruled by Mars. They're very energetic, courageous, independent. They're very dynamic, but that Mars energy, because Mars is very aggressive, leads to being a little bit impulsive, aggressive, quick to anger, quick-tempered. We only got two left, so bear with me. We got Taurus. Taurus is my sign. It is an earth sign. It is ruled by Venus. So as a Taurus, we are very sensual. We love like beauty and art and being comfortable and luxuries, making us a little bit materialistic. And we're a fixed earth sign. So because we're fixed earth, we are very stubborn, we're immovable, we are just not going to get us moving very fast. Yeah. And finally, we have the twins or Gemini. The Geminis are the intellectuals of the zodiac. I mean, I know I said that Sagittarius are sages, which they are, but they're Geminis are going to be more of like the geniuses. They are intellectual, adaptable, quick-witted, and social, but they're the twins. They can be seen as two-faced, so they can also be very deceitful or gossipy. So that finally gets us through all of our constellations and zodiacs. So just imagine, you have this house with all these rooms, and all these rooms mean something different. And they each got their own vibe. And, so like your second house in Leo means like your kitchen is going to be like bling bling, like look at me. It's like everyone wants to be there, everyone wants to be in the kitchen. It's the house of finance, so it's going to be like a little showy with your money. If you have any transits there. And then our planets are like people walking through this house, and experiencing these vibes and changing the vibes because each person has their own energy. So let's just quickly run through these celestial objects really fast. Okay, we've got Sun. Sun is the planet of the self in the sixth house of Sagittarius. So, with the Sun in the sixth house, we're talking about routine and structure. So, you probably have a person, if this was a natal chart, who is very routine and structured. They're probably super healthy and fit. They are also going to be influenced by the Sagittarius vibe, which is the vibe of philosophy and travel. So maybe they're one of those people who want to travel the world and then talk about food, or travel the world having yoga retreats everywhere. They might really get into the philosophy of travel and routine or habits or practices. So that is Sun in Sagittarius. Now we have the moon. The moon is the planet of, or not planet, but the celestial object of emotions. And we have it in our eighth house of intimacy. So if this was a natal chart reading, I would say that this person would be very emotional when it comes to their intimate partners, but it's in the house of Aquarius, which is the house of humanitarian needs. So they'll be also very concerned with, the social aspects of their romantic partner. They might be very interested in helping out, women who are domestically abused because it's this emotional tie to a humanitarian need of, maybe um, abuse in the home or um, uh, anything that has to do with humanitarian needs, where it highlights anything in the eighth house, which is intimacy issues. Okay. Next, we got Mercury. It's the planet of communication. So with Mercury here, shown here in the sixth house, we have someone who's going to really want to talk about their maybe their workout routine, maybe their diet, maybe just their overall practices. They're going to want to communicate about what really sets them apart on the day to day. This is like, Tim Ferriss came out with like the 4 hour work week. Like he probably has Mercury in his sixth house because it was all about time efficiency and getting your routine done and how to organize your time. Next, we have Venus in the eighth house again. Right now we got a lot of movement in the sixth house and the eighth house. Interesting. Anyways, so Venus in the eighth house. So we're talking about someone who is going to express a lot of love um, right now in the bedroom. But you have it with this vibe of Capricorn, and Capricorn is that whole vibe of organization and getting things done and discipline. So maybe this is the person who schedules their intimate time, like some people do that. So, maybe it's not going to be someone who's super spontaneous with intimacy, but someone who's a little bit more regimented, a little bit more like, this is when we're going to do this. Okay. Next, we have Mars in the second house. So the second house, as I mentioned, is the house of finances. It's in the beautiful light of Leo, or the ruled by the sun. And so, with Mars being the planet of action and energy, this would be a great time to ask for a raise or ask for a promotion or go after a brand new opportunity because the with Leo being a very charismatic energy and Mars being action oriented, this is a time where you can go out and increase your finances. Um, you're maybe you want to do a trade in the stock market or you want to buy some Bitcoin. This would also be a fortuitous time for that. Jupiter. We have Jupiter in the 12th house. So, 12th house of the subconscious, and Jupiter is the planet of abundance and luck and receiving. So, it's like basically Jupiter is that energy of like, I'm going to give to you, and you just got to sit there and bask in the glow of Jupiter. You always want to look to see where your Jupiter is in your natal chart because that's where you're going to probably find the most abundance in your life. And so if you have Jupiter in Gemini in your 12th house, this is probably for some of us a period of time where, um, especially if you have your sun in Gemini at the same time, you're going to probably reflect on your behaviors and your actions of the past and Gemini, being the intellectual that it is probably going to analyze things that have happened in the past. And Jupiter, being that energy of luck, will probably give the opportunity for a breakthrough. So, this energy is basically someone reflecting on their past, recognizing or analyzing where things haven't worked out, and then having a breakthrough moment where they realize, like, oh, this is how I could do this. Maybe, you've been stuck in a rut for a long time, not being able to figure out, like, how can I, make more money, or how can I get that job I want, or how can I, maybe that relationship you have with someone hasn't worked out. You'll have this breakthrough moment with Jupiter in Gemini in the 12th house to reap the benefits of whatever comes to light in the subconscious. Okay. Saturn, the planet of discipline, is in the ninth house of travel and and higher learning. So this is a really, really great time if you're a student. So if you're looking at like a transit chart and you're looking at the energies right now and you're a student, this is a great time to study because you have the planet of discipline in the ninth house, which is the planet of education and higher learning and travel. So if you've got a big midterm or like final coming up, this is a great time to study because you're going to finally have that energy and momentum to stay on top of it and understand whatever's coming in. Okay, only a few more planets and then we're done. Uranus. Uranus, as I mentioned, is the planet of change and rebellion, or it's kind of got this rebellious spirit to it. And it's in the 11th house of friendship. So, hmm. That's not so great. Um, so it's basically saying that like maybe right now your friendship circles are going to be changing. Maybe someone who you thought was a really good friend might not be a really great friend, or maybe someone new will be coming into your life. It's there's going to be some sort of change in the house of friendships in our social circles, or maybe you're seeing a change in the community. Um, but it's also got the vibe of Taurus, which is beauty and sensuality. So, but also stubbornness. So maybe the issue is like your stubbornness or someone's stubbornness is not working in a friendship relationship, and therefore there's going to be a change. Okay. Finally, Neptune, as I mentioned, is this like dreamy planet. It's imagination, dreams, delusions. It's ruled by Pisces, or it's associated with Pisces, and it is sitting in the 10th house of career. So you want to use this energy if right now you have a desire to create a new business, this would be a great time to just like do a little meditative work, do go your uh into your dreams and find and like dream up as big a dreams as you want for your career and your aspirations. So if you have a desire to start your own business, this is a great time to brainstorm ideas of like what to do because you've got that Neptune energy that's bringing in these ideas from like this outside space in. It's maybe you'll also get hit with a solution to something, like maybe there's been an issue at work and you haven't been able to figure it out. But if you take the time to meditate with this Neptunian energy, it'll be that time where you can dream big and fulfill these dreams. Okay. Last planet, Pluto, which isn't a planet, I know, but it's a really important one. It's the planet of birth, transformation, death, and rebirth. It's a very powerful influence. It's small but mighty, as I said in my first video, and it is in Aquarius in the eighth house. So, as I mentioned in my Diddy video, like, basically, I'm not even gonna say anything more than that. Go watch the Diddy video. It's on YouTube if you can't find it. Um, it is basically that right there. You know, it is Plutonian energy, which is transformation, in Aquarius, which is dealing with humanitarian matters, in the eighth house of intimacy. I don't really need to say anything more than that. Read between the lines. I don't want to say more because I don't want TikTok to ban me again from posting. So that basically concludes our discussion on the basics of Western astrology. I will be doing a video on Eastern astrology or Vedic astrology pretty soon because I am currently obsessed with that. And if you found this video helpful at all or interesting or you liked it, please like and subscribe so that I can create more content like this. If you have any individual questions or want to learn more about your own natal chart, transit chart, or synastry chart, please feel free to reach out to me. You can message me on any of the apps you find me on, which is YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Or you can email me at betweendimensions111@gmail.com. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched all the way through, because that was a lot. Love you all. Mwah. Good night.